Thanks again for React India to have me here, to give me the opportunity to probably speak for the last time in my career. So I'm taking a break. And if everything works, probably I'll be back in 26, but no promises. I mean, I've decided to take disconnect myself. I've been doing this for 5 years, and I think, yeah, I have a few more things which I want to focus on. So let's get started. I think I have 28 minutes, but so I'm going to talk about a tool called NX, as Tejas said, and I love working with this tool. Like this is something which I do at my job as full time, and the community is amazing. So I've been using this tool since it was only available for Angular, and over the years it has become a wide known tool in all the different technologies as well as frameworks. So let's see what it is, but I will introduce myself first. So I'm working at a company called Celonis, which is based in Munich. So I flew from Hamburg here, actually, and took me 40 years. I don't know why, because I screwed up on my booking. I took wrong flights. But yeah, so I work at Celonis, and then I'm a Google developer expert, and I am a GitHub star. Again, a program by GitHub. I've been part of an NX Champions program. I run my own community, so I'm co-founder for This Is Learning. And I'm also a co-host for a podcast. This is Tech Talks. We had Tejas this year on our show, and it was great talking to him as usual. In case any one of you want to become part of the community, just let me know. You can just DM me, and we can onboard you. Or if you have something to share with the world, any open source projects you have been working on, just send me a DM, and we can probably do an episode next year because we are already done for this year almost. And yeah. So let's start with what is NX, just to see like how many of people here knows about NX. Hands? Oh, good. So I'm at the right conference, so not many people are aware of it. So it's a build tool. So the first impression people get from NX is people tell me, okay, this is a monorepo tool. No, that's not true. So actually, it's a build tool which gives you support for monorepos. And my friend Natalia created a very great website about monorepos. So you can just go to monorepo.tools and read more about it. And she also created this diagram to explain you what monorepo and polyrepos are. So in monorepos, you actually put your all code together in a single repository, where in polyrepo, your code is scattered across multiple repositories, which is hard to work with, especially in case your team is collaborating a lot. So, but yeah, this talk is not about monorepo and polyrepo. So let's go ahead and let me give you more details, like what NX does, basically. So, NX can actually provide you cache for all the tasks, like you run build, you run linting, you run your test, end-to-end test, and then you get a cache out of the box. It's like for free. It's framework and technology agnostic, so you don't have to stick with any particular technology or even any particular framework when it comes to front-end or back-end. So you can just use it with anything or a new upcoming framework. You can just do that because it's plugin based. So even if you have a homegrown framework or a tool, you can just actually add it as a plugin. And if you have an open source project, you already get access to millions of developers who are downloading NX every week. So it's like bigger market. So and then I'll show you what are the different plugins which are already available. It supports some of the frameworks like Angular, React, Vue out of the box, but there are supports for Solid.js, Quick, via plugins, which is available. It supports micro frontend. I think in past few years, this is what we have seen, the popularity of micro frontends, even though people don't need it. But yes, it's a cool thing to do. So people are doing micro frontends, and NX gives all the support out of the box. So you don't have to do any configuration, nothing. Just start using it. And then it also supports backend technologies. So let's say if you have backend like Spring, .NET, or even Python, you can just keep your code, front-end, backend code together with the NX. And let's start, how you can create a new workspace. Of course, this is where we start, right? We are all front-end developers. So you can just you can use this command called npx create NX workspace, and then it will create your workspace. Now, as I said, NX comes with some defaults. So you can choose which framework you want to use. So of course, I created, okay, I want to use React. But React is a library, right? Just kidding. But it also has frameworks, right? So you have Next.js, Remix, and then Expo, React Native. So it gives you access to all these frameworks. So you can create a new project, or you can scaffold a new project without thinking too much, without fighting with your friends that we need this configuration, we need that configuration, and we can all live happily ever after, right? And then it can just scaffold all the projects for you with all the configuration, no manual intervention needed. So you can choose, do you want to go with Next.js or default React or Remix Expo? And then you can choose what type of repository you want. One of the widely used way of doing package management in actually open source or even in JavaScript ecosystem is package-based, where you have multiple packages depending on each other. So they also have support for package-based. If you have a project, I will recommend you to go with integrated monorepo, which has out-of-the-box support for, it gives you all the commands and build caching, tests caching, lint caching. And there is standalone. For example, if you're just working on a single project, just go ahead and use standalone, which is rare, right? So in most of the enterprises, you have many projects to work with. And then it comes with something called NX Cloud, which is a paid product. So in case you want to use NX Cloud, you can also choose what CI you are using. So it can create all those files which is needed on the CI to make it work. So even here, you don't have to do any manual thing. You just need to create, OK, I use GitHub Actions, and then that's it. Everything works out of the box for you. The next step which we do is, now we have to add new applications, right? So once you have your workspace, the next thing which you do is create apps. So NX allows you to have actually multiple applications of any type of framework into your workspace. So let's say you can create one workspace, you can add Next, you can add Remix, and you can also add React Native or Expo, whatever project you want. So you have a single repository, everyone can contribute to the same code base, and everyone is happy because they can support the entire organization, right? So this is where many organizations are moving towards. Like Google does it from years, Microsoft does it from years. So they have a single code base for everyone to contribute. NX follows the same principle because the founders were actually from Google. They wanted to make sure that this technology or whatever the concept is available for everyone. So they ended up building NX. And then, the previous slide was about the kind of framework you want to use once you have your workspace. And then you can add applications. And there are commands available for adding a new application. So you can say remix :application. So the application is of course, your a way to tell NX that I want to create a new application with, let's say, Remix or Next or React Native. So this is how you create a new app. I'll show you some demos. And then next thing which we do is, or not often, you want to actually, this is very recommended practice, especially in the Angular ecosystem, that we try to split our code into more reusables, more smaller build units, which we call it as libraries. So NX allows you to do this from a single command line. So you can say, OK, I want to create a new lib. Whatever kind of framework you are using, you can create a lib for Next, Remix, or you can create React Native. Now, Halloween is coming. So there is a horror story here, OK, especially in React ecosystem nowadays. OK, so everyone is struggling with this because now React, so create React app is actually going away. So people are really worried and scared, and probably your wife or husband, they are more scared. What should we do next? So NX takes care of it. NX gives you an option to choose tooling of your choice. Like you can choose Vite, RSpec. Yes, RSpec support is already available, which is probably you may have to write your own configuration. And then Webpack, the OG, is still there, right? So yeah, Nitin is saying. And then, yeah, whatever comes next, right? So let's say, yeah, this pack, that pack, whatever pack comes next, you will have option to create a new library or application with those tooling. Now, end-to-end framework has become very famous in the ecosystem of JavaScript, thanks to, I think, Cypress and Playwright for doing the heavy lifting, because it made our life easier. How many of you are using one of this tool? So many, right? So And thanks to this, like I can probably search for a job as a backend or as a tester as well, right? Because I can write Playwright test, which is easier to read. So you also get this out of the box. So you don't have to do any configuration. You create a new app. You get a Cypress, the option to choose whether you want a Cypress test or you want Playwright. I think Playwright is default one now. But what in case you want to build or bring your own framework or library to the ecosystem? This is where plugin comes into the picture. Or there is a new framework tomorrow, because probably in 30 minutes there will be another framework in JavaScript, right? So you can actually just add that as part of NX ecosystem by using something called plugin. And we use it a lot because in our organization, one thing developers love to do is create a folder with a lot of scripts. And when you ask them, what is your secret for productivity, they will ask you to come to their desk and show you list of script files they have written, right? What in case you can share that productivity hack with everyone? That's where plugins come to the picture. So you can add those scripts as a plugin, and your friends can also become more productive, right? OK, so let me give you a small demo. This is I already created a workspace because I don't want to take enough time. So this is already a workspace, NX workspace. And I can just use something called NX console. This is just a GUI on top of the NX CLI. So I don't have to search about what are the different commands which is available. And if I have to add a new, let's say, framework or support for framework, I can just say add dependency. You can see there are lists of options. Let's see if there is next. So I can just choose NX next. And now I have a workspace ready where I can just start writing new applications on next. I can choose, let's just say, I think there should be Expo or React Native, or let's say if you decide to take the wild path and come to Angular, just in case. So you can do NX Angular as well. Yeah, I'm an Angular developer, by the way. So, OK. So, and then after you are done with this, you can just start generating. So this is generate UI. So let's say if you want to create a new React application, I can say React application. And it will scaffold everything for you. No configuration needed. It supports Cypress component test, just in case you are using it. You can add Cypress component test as well. You can add Storybook. And with zero configuration, I'm just saying you just need to create a new project with Storybook, and that's it. So I can show you an app. So this is my app, the React app, with, I think, this uses Vite. So I can, and of course, I decided not to write Vite configuration by myself, but it's already generated for me. And there is an end-to-end test, which is already available. And you can see this is all Playwright. I decided to do nothing. I mean, this is already out of the box. OK, so, and then you get plugins. You can, as I said, you can bring your own tooling as part of the ecosystem for all the developers, right? So they can share it. So this is how you do it generally. So let's say tools. And then I created a new plugin. What this plugin can do is it can generate some file. So you can actually define, I'll just open the generator.ts. Yeah. So let's say if you want to override or just create a new file for scaffolding, probably some of you might have this requirement in your project that you want to add some files once you create a library or an application. You can achieve that using NX because it gives you all the APIs out of the box. And then you can say, OK, I want to generate files, and then put all the files into files folder. And once you run this plugin, these files will be written on your drive. As simple as that. And you can pass configuration to this. And you can scaffold any type of project or any type of file. I'm not talking about TypeScript or JavaScript. I'm saying any type. Like if you have a Python project, yes, you can do that. So because it works, it just works like this. So you have to create a file with .template extension, and that's it. The .template extension is mandatory. And this file, or the format it uses is called EJS. So I'm not sure how many of you used EJS, but it's easy to write. I mean, it's very, very simple. You can probably read more about it in case you are interested in writing a plugin. OK, so what's the ultimate goal of all the developers? Yeah, write your code and then wait for your CI to build it. And probably, meanwhile, you can have 3-4 coffees because, of course, it's going to take a lot of time. right? This is what we do today without monorepo. So you create your, write your code, your app or lib, and then you use whatever CI you have, like GitHub Actions, let's say. Then you probably push your artifact somewhere, right? Some JFrog or NPM or wherever you want to push it. And you do it multiple times, X times for all the apps and libs you have, right? This is time consuming. Let's say you have 4 PRs in your pipeline. How we do it today? I'm talking about someone who is using free GitHub Action version. So what you do, for every project, you probably will have 3 targets. I think all of us are using these 3 targets, build, lint, and end-to-end. So with, let's say, minimum configuration of GitHub Actions, this is what happens. So let's say first, your build task will be done, then you will go ahead, and then your lint task will be done. And then at the end, someone comes back to you and says, hey, when I'm going to get faster build, right? And then you're wondering, why I'm getting this question. This is not a problem for me, right? But yes, this is a problem for others. And this long build time is actually a multiverse story. How many of you have seen Loki 2 or aware of what MCU is? Multiverse? OK. So I'm going to show you a small story where Loki was the main character, right? So 4 PRs, OK, I mean, no one worried. So now we got 7 PRs in our pipeline. And one of the developers is waiting like this, because this is your merge queue or your pipeline. And he's worried, what the hell is going on? Where is my PR stuck? And he's looking at the DevOps team. What is this? I'm supposed to merge my PR. How should I go ahead and do this? And then this is the actual picture. Of course, it looks worst. And then the DevOps guy comes and says, hey, give it more time. It will be done soon. Right? He's just trying to give some satisfactory answers. And then you realize that, OK, this is too many branches. I mean, this is not going to work. And then you are having this discussion with your DevOps guys, and somewhere in between, platform team comes in and says, hey, this is a scaling problem. I don't think so I have anything to do with the PRs, but this is a scaling problem. Then you say, OK, let's solve that. How you can do it? Add more money, add more machines, give more money to the GitHub or any CI pipeline, and you do metrics, right? I think most of the CI pipelines support metrics, and then you can choose on which machine you want to run those. So you start running this in parallel. And now you also have heavy machines, probably large GitHub Action or GitHub runners. And then you are burning more money now just to resolve this issue. And then you're happy that we increased the throughput. Oh, now we are able to merge 7 PRs in limited time, and my developers are happy. Then you get 70 PRs. Of course, your organization is growing. And then you realize, oh my goodness, we increased the throughput, but it has too many branches now. And now the developers are all worried. And your DevOps team says, but this is what we were expecting for, right? I mean, we are scaling for this. But, OK, this is not going to solve. It will never be enough. Your PRs will keep increasing. Your team will keep increasing, number of PRs will go up. And at the end, you realize that you cannot scale for infinite. This is not possible. So, OK, so why this is happening? So one problem which we have with all the build tools is we are building the same code again and again. You are building it on your dev machine, you are building it on a CI, and then your friends are also building it again. If they push a new PR, they are rebuilding again. The code they have might not changed. OK, so, and with this, there is another problem, the task orchestration. Build and E2E are related, right? I mean, build is something which is the output for your end-to-end test. But we have to build it again, because now we have metrics. The pipelines, the machines are different. So you're running it on a different machine, and they can never share anything unless you pay more money to GitHub Actions, which is cash, right? GitHub Cache, which is not cheap, I would say. OK, so at the end, Loki realizes that, OK, now I have to become a god. I have to become an orchestrator myself. And he decides to adopt NX. And then his life changes, because NX can build what you changed. And but how they do it? So they do it via something called NX graph. So they create a graph of dependencies, what has changed. And they know the tool is really smart. It can identify what has changed, what part of the code has changed. And this is how it looks like. This is the visual representation I'm talking about. Once you run NX graph, you will see what are the applications and how they are dependent. This also helps in your code refactoring. Let's say circular dependency is a big problem in JavaScript ecosystem. And you can identify those circular dependencies using NX graph. Just run it, and then you can figure it out. And when it comes to like building what has changed, so I'll just give you a small example. Let's say you have 5 apps, and then you have 2 libraries. Same monorepo. I'm not talking about polyrepos. This is monorepo. And then you push a change here on lib1. You add a new feature. So NX can figure out, OK, my lib1 and app1 and app3 needs to be built. I don't need to build app2, app4, app5. I don't need to do this because no one changed it. But how? Like you need a command, right? So this is where NX affected command comes into picture. So you can say NX affected and then give the list of tasks which you want to run on your local machine. I mean, I'm not sure how many people run test on local machine. You should, to be frank. And then you can do this. And with NX Cloud, you can do the same stuff on CI. Good thing, this is, of course, paid product for enterprises. But in case you have an open source project, it's free. So you don't have to pay a single penny in case you are an open source project. And you can get the caching for free. So it's like you build what you change, nothing else. Now, let's talk about another issue in the JavaScript ecosystem, publishing a library. Right? So probably if you are an open source maintainer, it might bring you the bad memories, like how much difficult it is. So let's see how we create a publishable libraries in JavaScript. So you start with a new NPM or yarn workspace, right? This is how we start, like all JavaScript developers. Then we add tooling. So we decide, OK, what we should use. OK, let's see Wheatpack or Webpack or RSpack. And then you said, OK, now we have to add configuration to bundle your dependencies, right? So you have styling and your JavaScript code base. Then you say, OK, now it's time to publish. Then you add Semver. Then you add scripts to build your package. You add scripts to commit your code and generate the changelog, because this is important, right, in open source. Otherwise, people won't be able to migrate to next version. And then you feel like, oh, finally my package is ready. And then you realize this is not done. I have to now keep updating this thing. Now you have more tasks, more things to do. Every new framework or new version of that framework, you have to go ahead and update. Like you heard Satya in the morning, right? So React compiler is coming. So be ready, right? So, and then you realize probably it was easy to just build a Mark II Iron Man suit for myself rather than publishing this library. And then this is what NX can do for you with a single command. So welcome to the new era called NX release. So you can just create a new library and run NX release command. I'll show a quick demo for you. So I'll just go back. Right? So hope it's somewhere. No. Oh. OK, so once you run NX release command, I already have created a new library. As I said, you don't need to do any configuration for creating a new library. You can just go to UI and create a new library, and then you can select. So let's say as you do NX release, you say, OK, I just need a minor upgrade. And it will create all the change logs, it will stage the commit, and then it also tags the changes with a commit. Everything for you. And then it asks you if you want to publish it. And once you say yes, it will ask you to log in on NPM, and that's it. So yeah, so this is something which is available with NX 19, the recent release. And now, what about the migration? So you have a command called NX migrate, and you can just run this command and migrate to the latest version of the framework which is out there. For example, React compiler is coming. Just wait for the NX to start supporting it, and then you can just run this command and start using compiler, React compiler. Don't have to do a single line of change manually in your code base. And your team can live happily ever after. And one thing which I think I still have 4 minutes. Of course, I was planning to finish my talk in 25 minutes. That was the goal, so I'm happy that I could do it. And thank you so much. That was my talk. And just an announcement, like a little small announcement. So as I said, like I'm taking a break, but I want to take this break as an opportunity to help more developers. So let's say any of you who's planning to speak at conferences next year, you want your CFP to be reviewed or your talk to be reviewed, feel free to message me on LinkedIn, and we can connect over a call, and then we can review your talk, whatever you have decided to submit, and then we can submit you to a conference. So feel free to do that. So that's it, and yeah.